Hello everybody, welcome to your first ever UK Gaming Network podcast. I'm Zoidberg, and the purpose of this podcast is going to be to bring you all the weekly gaming news in an informative and hopefully entertaining fashion. We'll also give you a brief rundown of the games that we're currently playing and whether or not they're worthy of your time as well. So where else to start this week other than with Borderlands 3, which finally got announced last week during a lavish stage show at PAX East presented by Gearbox Software. If you tuned in at the start expecting to see the announcement straight away, then Gearbox kept us waiting for another hour and 20 minutes before they actually released the trailer for the game that we've all been waiting for the last 5 years. And to say that it was a relief is an understatement. I had been concerned that Borderlands 3 was going to lean more towards being like Destiny or Anthem. However, the trailer definitely made it look like Borderlands 3 hasn't lost any of the series' identity, which is fantastic news. At the moment there's no release date, although there are rumours that it could be September, along with rumours that the PC version might be exclusive to the Epic Games Store, at least for a short time. Also announced was the fact that Borderlands 1 is getting a 4K remaster, which should be hitting Xbox One and PS4 this week, along with full free 4K updates for the Handsome Jack collection too, which is great. Borderlands 2 VR will also be getting all of that game's DLC later on in the summer, also for free. It's almost as if Gearbox want us to like them now. Also announced at PAX East were 2 new Wolfenstein games. The first of which, Wolfenstein Youngblood, is a co-op shooter set in Paris in 1980. The focus on co-op is a definite first for the Wolfenstein series. If you pre-purchase the deluxe edition, it allows you to gift a second copy of the game to a friend so that they can play along with you. It's a nice touch, but if you already own an Xbox or a PS4, then you can pretty much do that already just by setting your home console to your friends. The second game, Wolfenstein Cyberpilot, looks like an on-rails mech shooter, but in VR. Nothing too revolutionary, but the £15 price point is just about perfect. Also announced last week was F1 2019 from Codemasters, which has been brought forward 2 months from its normal August release date to June the 28th. This year we can expect Formula 2 to be included for the first time, but perhaps most exciting of all is the fact that the career mode is going to feature a car designed specifically for the game by Ross Brawn and Pat Simmons. And this will allow you to race for your own team, even choosing your own livery for the car. As this is the first week of April, it's time for Xbox Games with Gold and PlayStation Plus to change their free games. On Xbox, you get the Technomancer, which is kind of like a cut-price Mass Effect set on Mars, as well as the original Star Wars Battlefront 2 from Pandemic Studios, which should finally put pay to a long-running UKGN argument about whether or not the original Battlefront games had more single-player content than the new ones. PS4 owners get to try Conan Exiles and The Surge, the latter of which was a really interesting sci-fi take on Dark Souls, although it never quite lived up to its potential. Wrapping up the news for this week, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel developer Beenox are going to be including tracks from the sequel Crash Nitro Kart as well. You may think that this is a really good idea, as it gives us more Crash Team Racing. Nobody told Beenox that Crash Nitro Kart was a little bit rubbish when that came out, so hopefully it doesn't ruin things. I'm keeping an open mind and I'm still excited, but we'll find out for ourselves when the game comes out in the summer as to whether or not this gamble has paid off. Now it's time to move on to the new games that we've been playing this week, and first off is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which is From Software trying something new with the Dark Souls template. It manages to feel both familiar and unique at the same time, with the action being far faster paced. The action is fast and jumping around the world is tremendous fun. The combat itself has a heavy reliance on parrying encounters. Fortunately, the game has a character called the Undying, who you can go to at any point and practice your skills, or in our case, lack of them. As you'd expect, it also features some great boss fights. Next up is Xenon Racer, which is an excellent Ridge Racer style arcade game with a rock solid 60 frames a second. It's blisteringly quick, and really, really good fun. I've thoroughly enjoyed playing it. The track designs are excellent, and there's a real flow to the gameplay, which I've not felt since playing the original Ridge Racer. I think the only thing that spoils it slightly is when you're playing the single player career mode, there's a big difficulty spike a little bit too early in the career mode, where it took me at least 12 attempts to win this one single race that unlocked the rest of the career mode. Once I managed to get past that though, no issues whatsoever, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. Next up, Yoshi's Crafted World on the Switch, which has all the charm that you'd expect from Nintendo, and it could quite possibly be the best Yoshi game since Yoshi's Island on the SNES. The gameplay is as you would expect, but with a slight 3D twist to it where you can go in and out of the levels. All of the levels have loads of hidden secrets in them, which encourages you to replay them over and over again. And the only downside is that some of the background music can get a little bit annoying. Generation Zero is the first independently published game from Avalanche Studios, the developers of Just Cause. It's set in 1980s Sweden, in a world where everyone has vanished, and it's up to you to try and find out where they've gone. The world looks great, and it has a foreboding atmosphere, but in terms of gameplay, it's a little bit too empty, with far too much aimless wandering, not really knowing what you're supposed to be doing. The combat itself is pretty satisfying, and the enemies look great. Although, with the game being designed with 4-player co-op in mind, it's incredibly tough when you play it on your own. So it can't really be recommended unless you have friends who can join you. Far Lone Sails arrives on consoles this week after coming out on PCs late last year. This is a game that definitely falls into the same survival platform genre as Limbo and Inside, although rather than traversing the world on foot, you do so inside a giant land-based ship. The puzzles generally involve trying to work out how you're going to get your massive ship past some of the obstacles in the game, and throughout its relatively short runtime you have to deal with such things as broken wheels and the harsh weather conditions. It looks nice and it's fun to play, but it's not going to be a game that you're going to play through more than once. Last up is Ubisoft's Space Junkies for PlayStation VR, which we haven't played the full game of, but I had a quick go on the beta last week. It's a 2v2 arena shooter, and with nicely designed levels and good presentation. But for a £30 game, I expect more than one control method, especially when the one control method that the game does give you is really, really awful, and it takes you out of the experience. Which is a shame, because everything else about the game looks great. So that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Why not go back over some of our recent videos on the channel, like our Shadow of Memories live stream from Monday evening, which you can watch back in full. We also did a full walkthrough for indie game Daggerhood, which came out on consoles last week. We show you how to get the full 1000G in a mere 12 minutes. And while we're on the subject of walkthroughs, Gods Remastered has just come out on PlayStation 4 and Switch in the last 7 days, and we did a full walkthrough for that when it came out on the Xbox late last year. So if you've just got the game on one of the new systems, well worth checking that out as well. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. This has been UK Gaming Network. See you next week.